I always felt it was really important to get an edge in an interview because you're competing against people. And if you're really going to be prepared, then what are the things that you can do that aren't normally done by everyone else? And too often, when I ask people when I'm interviewing them, how did you hear about the role, or what did you learn about the job before you came into the interview? And too often than not, particularly for younger people, they say, "Well, I looked at the website." Well, that's clearly not enough. And I'm going to relay a story that has very little to do with that, but it talks about getting the edge. So I was recruited to run Catholic Charities USA back in the day. I went to the interview and I was meeting with the recruiter at the restaurant just prior to the interview. And it was a beautiful restaurant, and the recruiter looked up kind of in fright. I turned around, and in the restaurant, a pit bull came walking in the restaurant on its own and walked over to a poodle. So the poodle was a service dog, and it was next to also an infant that was with this lady that had the service dog. And the pit bull went right over, and they grabbed the scruff of the neck of the poodle, and no one was doing anything. And I felt like I should get up and help, so I got up. And fortunately, the pit bull had a collar, and I picked it up. And another guy came over, and we carried it out and threw it out of the hotel. And so by the time I got to the interview, I was definitely a hero. And I was actually in position to take the job, but it's a long story. Catholic Charities decided they had never hired anyone that wasn't a priest before, and they scuttled the process and they started again. So one of the things, that was an edge that I had, because when I came into that interview, I was the hero. But more importantly, that's just a fun story to remember. But what are the kinds of things that you can do to get ready for an interview? When I took the job in the Chicago YMCA, I was definitely the underdog. One of the things I did is I flew out there on my own money, and I was a young guy, didn't have that much money, flew out to Chicago a week ahead, and I met with a number of people from United Way and other organizations, stakeholders that I felt would help. And by the time I got into the interview, I actually blew it away because I amazed people being not from Chicago and knowing so much about what the organization was about, what the stakeholders were thinking about the organization. So make sure you go the extra mile when you're going into an interview. Don't just do the basics that everybody else is going to do. What can you do to get the edge? Now, not everybody's going to have a pit bull walk into a restaurant to make that happen, which was, I guess, kind of fortunate to me, even though I didn't end up taking that job. But think about it. You have to believe that you can be better and you can best everyone in terms of that interview. So go for it.